My name is Japheth Ouda with the Global Peace Foundation, Kenya. I'm the manager in charge of environment, running one of the programs called A Million Tree Campaign, courtesy of Dr. Manu Chandaria, basically the Chandaria Foundation, bringing in a broad spectrum of additional partners, UNICAF, Nairobi Primary, Daystar University, Starehe Girls, Kaptagat Girls, and now Alliance, both high school and the girls' school. Global Peace is basically a peace organization. Our efforts are geared towards promoting sustainable peace and community development. And by and large, we recognize that climate change has an effect in a big way to the cause of sustainable peace. And for that reason, we find ourselves actually absolutely involved, in this very process. Climate change, fundamentally, I would say, is an effect of the fact that, in essence, we as human beings have violated the natural law of existence. And if you talk about the natural law, this is not something that we created ourselves as human beings, but rather recognizing that there is a sovereign being. Just to mention that actually as an organization, part of the vision that we are rallying our programs is on one family under God. In essence, it means we did not apply to be on the face of this earth, but rather recognizing that we are here courtesy of some supreme force. And by that virtue, you realize again, it is fundamentally that we have violated that we are today having a challenge on climate. So what needs to happen is that we need to restore our original relationship with the Creator, God, as a basic matter of fact in dealing with issues of climate change. And now, to be specific on children, there is an assumption many a times as parents, we see, we assume that children are there to be seen, not to be heard. We are actually very happy to have children, but many a times we don't give them even an opportunity to speak or to aid us in certain element of things that we need to address. So in a big way, they are affected because many a times we don't consider their voice until either they are seeking for something that is pressing for their own good, but rather not involved, in a larger context, probably in a family setup, in terms of decision making towards making moves that would actually contribute to the good of the very family or the very society that you're in. As I already mentioned to you that on the A Million Tree campaign we are running, and with the environment as a tool towards peace building and community development, you appreciate that even today we have a young population. And as we are talking about mitigating climate change, these are the biggest percentage of our population today. It's said Africa has the youngest population. So this group, it's enormous in numbers. They are huge in numbers. So it means, even as we speak, ideally, they should be main stakeholders in this very process. So they need to be involved. As Global Peace, on the A Million Tree campaign we're running, we have these nurseries in schools where actually these children are. So purposefully is that even as much as we are supporting the cause towards the President's call, meeting the 15 billion tree growing by 2032, these young people, this youthful population are the majority that actually need to be involved in this very process. So ideally, our efforts are proactively and intentionally to have them participate in this process, of restoring our environment. They have to be involved. They have to participate. You also appreciate that our constitution gives us that provision, the element of public participation. So they take a big part in that. So our efforts are geared towards their active participation. These young people need to participate. Additionally, there's an element of volunteerism, you know, in this very process. Children are very good in having a desire and willing, you know, to volunteer to do something. So by that same virtue, we see some good elements, some good tides, vibes that come from them, you know, in practice that can actually help into mitigating the entire process, you know, of climate. That is why it's, I feel it's important. I felt it's important to be actually part of this so that we can accelerate their inspiration, their desire, and allow them to participate proactively, intentionally, and they own it up, they pick it up, and actually they can run with it, as long as we provide guidance and direction. Well, as I said already, there is an assumption that they are there to be seen, not to be heard. This is one of the challenges. However, moving forward with my previous speaker having alluded to just the recent UN Convention 26, that children have rights, you know. So at this particular time, it's incumbent to acknowledge that we give them space. They can actually speak out. They can air. Meaning, one, we need to share with them the information of what's happening, you know, on a day-to-day basis. Just share with them. Then from there, hear their voice. What is it that they have to say? Allow them to participate, allow them to contribute. Then actually you have a say. I mean, whatever you want to do with their consideration, then you have a way to actually carry out what you need to do. In the outcome statement, I think it's important, again, to acknowledge their presence, and they are not there to be seen, but rather more we want to hear from them. We want them to speak out, air their voices, you know, raise their concern, and more so, allow them to participate in the process, you know, allow them to take part in the very process, or rather decision making, so that holistically you're able to include them in the entire process. That way they feel part of the process, and actually also letting them lead, you know, in that very process of change. Let them take the first step, you know, in the way they would want those very particular things to be done. That way you get their support. Once they pick it up, they will run with it, then you're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.